Then we needed some like hope, I guess, because it looked not that well. And then now getting this close to Fnatic and Fnatic end up being the winner, that's a good motivation for us to like move on the way we're moving right now.
So with that set going the distance yesterday, and having had the time to think back on how you all performed and what went right, what went wrong, do you think moving into this LAN you're going to make some adjustments more on drafting or more on in-game execution?
So for draft-wise, of course, some small things, because you always see something during games that can be improved during draft. It was mostly like it came down to really small errors in the game that caused us to lose the game, in my opinion. So we're gonna focus on those and make sure those mistakes happen less or not at all, preferably. But we're just gonna try our best, and that's all we can do for now.
So naturally now Fnatic's probably a team that you're kind of worried about whenever you end up facing them. Are there any other teams here that are playing that you're relatively worried about?
You want us?
Not really.
Well, I'm just not underestimating anyone personally. I think, of course, after watching Burrito Hi-Rez, well, we're gonna see soon how they're gonna play. But I feel like they have a good possibility of winning this tournament. I wouldn't underestimate them. And I think like multiple teams, everyone is growing. Everything, the scene is just getting better in general. So it's at the point where you don't underestimate anyone, in my opinion.
I mean, earlier today we saw Chromaspace manage to take a game 4-0 away from the Renegades, which I think kind of speaks for itself and how you really can't afford to really underestimate any team coming into this. Specifically, we've seen a few different champions kind of come to the forefront of what's creating a real LAN meta right now. We've seen Khan pop out a couple of times. We had the pleasure of watching you play Khan a couple of times yesterday, and we've also seen Drogoz really come to the forefront. Do you think that there are still any surprises kind of lurking in the waters there, or do you think we're now kind of cementing more of what's going to be the standard from moving forwards through all these games?
I think it's going to take a few more days because we haven't seen the other regions play. We just have seen Europe and North America play, and they, of course, have their own meta, and every region has their own meta. And when you come to a LAN environment, the ping is less. Like, for example, Drogoz is way more effective at LAN because of the low ping. And that happens with a lot of champions. So I think when we see every region play, after maybe day one or day two, we're going to see a LAN meta.
Now looking forward, you're going to be playing against Kanga, which is one of the teams that has kind of floated around. They've always been very, very strong in their region, always been a contender, but they haven't really made it far every time they hit LAN. Are you worried about their matchup, or do you think you're going to have an easier time with them?
Well, they haven't played versus Zero for a long time now, since the last tournament, which was 4 months ago. So they have watched a lot of games that we've played, so they have done their research at least, but they haven't probably played, the draft themselves. And we'll have to see, I guess. May the best team win.
And they absolutely will. A question that I've got for you specifically now is, you've got this big, grueling 3-week stretch of LAN for Paladins, where there's kind of no end in sight until you're right at the very end of the Masters LAN. And moving forwards into that, is there anything special that you've done to prepare? Have you guys been boot camping before this all started? Have you guys been sort of like having group VOD review and doing stuff to make sure that you're watching the games back between LANs?
We started off before the LAN season opened with a boot camp, of course, and that's where we do most of our reviews. During the LAN month itself, like it's basically a month of LANs, like it becomes hard because Europeans have to travel a lot and it takes a while. And that's where it became an issue for us because we also had like issues with our flights, and then the practice becomes less and less. And like those are factors you can't take. Like, that's why we do a bootcamp before, so we are prepared as much as we can for all 3 LANs.
And that was actually something that MetaPusher had mentioned for Envy as well, that the fact that right after Vegas, you essentially had a couple days at home and then you were traveling again. Has that kind of taken its toll? Are you guys feeling tired, or you still feel kind of invigorated since you pretty much stayed on NA schedules?
Yeah, when we came back to bootcamp, we just stayed on the NA schedule to make sure we are not going to be tired when we get here and jet lagged or anything. It was weird sleeping in the morning, but you get used to it.
Oh, come on, you're on a regular European gamer schedule and that all happens, but that's a big thing as well. A lot of people might not realize that when you're traveling from Europe, it can maybe be sort of a 20-hour plus journey. Is there anything that you guys do specifically to prepare for that as well, to like get your bodies in order? Do you kind of switch onto that schedule before the LAN season even begins, or do you just kind of have to take it as it comes and deal with it?
Before the LAN season began, we got into the schedule, of course. We stayed up late, so we are prepared. And of course, we fly early in the morning, which means we have to stay up to catch our plane in the first place, which also helps because you are prepared to stay up late. The only issue is that some people fall asleep during the plane here, and then it becomes an issue because then your sleep schedule is not the same anymore.
Well, it sounds like you guys have done a lot to prepare for this. You've obviously had a lot of LAN experience in just the last couple of weeks, so you're ready to go into this. So thank you for coming for here, and also good luck in all of your sets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the desk. Tigers here with Pretty Hair, and I'm bummed because I didn't see in time that you were wearing a jersey, and I was like, all right, I'll go get some Navi gear, but they're already set up. So
I'm just ready for some completely unbiased desk work. You know
I wonder who you want to win. I wonder who you're rooting for.
I want a good show, Gabriella. All right. It's a tough day for me. All right. I love all my children equally, and I really hate it when they fight like this. But you know, it's always a good show.
But we do have Navi versus Kanga, and Navi, you heard some words from them talking about travel and just their experience so far. They put up a good fight yesterday, but nonetheless are still looking for that #1 spot once more.
Really a great fight, honestly. That was one of the best sets we've seen in a while. Navi and Fnac, for the most part, always go kind of like that. Those best of sevens, go in the distance, complete just 4 threes across the board. Incredible stuff from them, and I think that's what we've come to expect from the defending world champions. The 2-time right there on your screen, winning under the banner of Burrito as well as Navi. Spunky and the gang feeling and looking pretty healthy, well-rested, energetic today, and that's important. Keeping their energy high, because I think they are a squad that can get a little bit down on themselves, but more importantly, they are a squad that knows how to lose, because they have been a team for so long. I think one of the longest-standing Europeans in terms of all 5 of those players, and they've lost a lot of games. They've lost a lot of lands. They've even had, DreamHack Valencia they didn't even make.
Well, they are going to be facing off against Kanga, so let's hear some words from those players.
The first day of Masters, and obviously you just got pulled from a scrim, so you guys feeling prepared for the tournament?
Yeah, of course. We've been practicing a lot, so.
Yeah, that's actually a really big question that I have for you guys. With you guys based out of primarily Australia, the OCE region, you're really at a sort of a large ping deficit when you want to try and scrim other teams. How do you prepare for a LAN when you might not be able to necessarily play some of the hottest competition that you're seeing, these North American and European teams?
Yeah, it definitely makes things harder, because the potential people we can verse is way less, and even the quality of the scrims we can get are less. So what we try and do is just get over early to the US for a boot camp and hopefully verse some of the good teams there and just catch up to speed on the meta. And then by the time the tournament comes around, hopefully we've learnt enough quick enough that we can pull off the win.
So being able to come into this, I mean, you guys have brought in kind of 2 new members onto the team, and you've been looking really solid with it, but do you feel like that's kind of set you back, or that you're actually more prepared for this now?
Well, I actually moved from player to coach, and the 2 new players we picked up. So I think overall, with the whole new lineup, we're a better team. So yeah, the coach definitely makes a big difference, just talking myself up, I guess, but it actually makes a massive difference when people are preparing and really thinking about the game and the draft. And the draft is so important now. With this new meta, all the new characters, all the new changes, you need to keep on top of this stuff or you'll just fall behind.
So elaborating on that, actually, that's an area that we've seen come into play a lot more recently. With the Vegas LAN, we saw Metapush's role as a coach be brought right to the forefront. We've seen G2 pick up Sir Kyle, and they've been performing better with it in the terms of the draft. Do you feel that your role as a coach is more focused primarily then on drafting, or more sort of guiding players on how they should make decisions in-game?
Well, there's multiple aspects of the coaching, and it's kind of, we put it under, or I categorize it as manager as well. So there's the manager type of people that are keeping everyone's spirits and headspace and healthy, practicing, like booking the scrims, making sure they're doing the right things at the right times. Then there's also the coaching side of it, which is working on the drafts, positioning, strats in game, watching VODs, going over things like that. And it's all about just kind of motivating the players. That's like a major thing that, like, a lot of players will just not do anything if they're not told to do it.
So you guys, I guess, have always been, the underdog from down under when it comes down to it. You're always coming in, and people have seen you do a lot, and you always tend to make trouble for a lot of these top teams, but you never seem to get as far as you would like. Do you think this is the tournament where you can really switch that around?
I definitely think as long as we play well, I definitely think we could make an upset. I think now that we're underdogs rather than people expecting us to do well, it gives us an advantage as well. So if people underestimate us, we'll definitely beat them.
Now, I do have to make this as a bit of a throwaway question, but just for personal curiosity, will you be bringing back the Church of Grover to the stage and to the LAN this time? Or do you feel like that the sport champions have kind of diversified in terms of meta? There are better choices here and there?
Yeah, you might see a Grover here or there, maybe. We'll have to wait and see.
As being the first ones to bring Grover out on the international stage and winning, with Joel getting the pentakill and beating, who was it? It was whatever Birdie's team was called. Rip Birdie.
You've got Vox over here fanning himself. The plays have always been good from you guys, but the first matchup you have, it's going to be a big one up against Navi. And since it's double elimination, do you guys feel like there's a little bit less pressure to perform here, or do you feel that because it's the World Champions, you kind of need the win?
Well, getting a win here puts us way better bracket-wise. I think we go against the win of G2 Space Station. And at the moment, I think there's like 5 or 6 teams which anyone could win this tournament. Yeah. So just having the opportunity to go against one of these teams with a chance of winning can be massive. So you don't want to go down to that loser's bracket because you need to verse multiple more teams so you have multiple more chances of losing.
So you guys just mentioned, we just talked about how we are a double elimination. We have a winners and a losers bracket here. It's going to be a much more grueling competition. It's much longer than we're used to with the kind of the typical single elimination format. Have you guys done anything special to prepare for that? Or is it just a case of we're going to go in, we're going to play the game in the set in front of us, and we're just going to keep on doing that rinse and repeat until done?
Yeah, I mean, we've done homework on each of our matches and stuff and potential if we win or lose. So, but mainly we've just focused on the match that we're going to be playing today.
You know, you had mentioned that you got here a little bit early to boot camp. So are you guys worried about stamina, or do you think you're going to be able to make it through the entire weekend no problem?
Oh, we'll make it through. That's not a problem.
I'm happy to hear that you guys sound prepared, ready, and excited to go on. So good luck in your games later today, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Seeing a bit of that personality sprinkled in that we know and love. And this is our...
Rip Birdie's team. Team Eager. All right, represent.
You know,
it's been a while.
But hey, they're looking strong. They're looking happy for this matchup. But we actually just witnessed the first clashing of a PPL team versus an international team that didn't go in the favor of international.
And you know, I'm so excited to watch this team because of Oz Rhino and because of Nudie. This is, for all intents and purposes, a new roster. They lost such big role players, such star players even from this old roster. Josh Ken, I think he did a lot of the in-game leading, call-outs, drafting, that sort of thing. But, you know, they seem confident, which gives me confidence because I just really didn't know. I don't know what my expectations are. They've made too many roster changes for me to really have a big opinion on it. And here's the maps on your screen. But to talk about Hades, the way he feels confident now, he's saying, oh, my God, it's made a world of difference having me step into that coach sort of position, the manager as well. He started this organization, right? So he's taken himself out of the trenches, so to speak, and really focus on growing this organization, continuing to just see excellence with all of Kanga's team. And I got to say, I'm sort of on board when you see what MetaPusher's been able to do for that MV organization, the way it really helps to have that eye in the sky, so to speak.
That's the thing. I love seeing the impact that these coaches have had. And for so long, it was just MetaPusher that we were talking about because he was the first to really be as active, not just in the drafting phase during the tournament, but clearly during practice and everything, right? And being able to bring in 2 new players from the PGS and have that synergy happen so quickly. And now you're getting to see it in these other organizations, and maybe that'll be the key to eliminating some of the slower start that often happens with roster changes.
And, you know, I had the chance to kind of sit down and talk with some of those newer guys from Kanga, and they are both new to just the LAN environment, right? They haven't competed in an international event like this before. They haven't competed at a LAN event professionally in any game before, but, you know, they're young, hot talent, so to speak, from us. I think Osreno there, he's only 16 or something like that, so he's looking good. I think he's feeling good about it, and this type of environment isn't too intimidating, in my opinion. You know, they got the soundproof booths now. There's no cuss cutie yelling at you across the way. I think you're really just kind of, you're there in the box with your boys, and you're ready to win. You're ready to take this first game up on the docket for us. Nadas Vincier versus Kanga, the world champs, versus the Thunder from Down Under. Ruckus, Makoa banned off the board. Maeve taken out as well. Kanga with their last ban, and then Navi will have the first pick.
Maeve has been a crazy talking point, but yeah, not to boost up the studio too much and everything, but I think the new setup is a more friendly environment that has enabled anyone who's coming to LAN for the first time to not feel as hefty of a 180. We'll have to see exactly what Kanga end up banning out as their last ban, but very traditional with the first portion. It's actually going to be Terminus.
Interesting stuff here. This Jackal Falls has a lot of frontline bans being taken out of the board at the moment. Cassie locked in first for Navi. And I think Kanga, it's going to be very important to get these new bloods comfortable on their picks. Oz Rhino plays the frontline. Nudie plays the support. Kanga are going to draft 2 front lines right out of the gate here. Fernando and Anar taken nice and early, but don't get it twisted. I think Diggy Joels and Chronix, that core 3-man that has been with Kanga for all time, is going to be incredibly responsible for putting in a ton of work and carrying these games.
But they'll have to remain a very strong core when you're going against Navi, who, because of that long time capability of this roster, if they need to move off of comfort a little bit and throw someone into a different role, they can. But they have also just shown more success, even yesterday, even though it didn't go in the way that they wanted to, when they revert back to some of those traditional actual drafts.
Yeah, I think Kanga historically has been a very flexible team, and Navi, they've been around long enough to know not to underestimate Kanga, so I don't think Kanga's going to be getting any favors from them. Both of the Bow champions, Cassie and Shaolin, locked in for Navi. Genos as well, which at least probably tells you they'll likely be going for a 3 DPS style of composition, or at least the door is open for so, and that's a great way to start the draft to keep Kanga guessing.
And having your frontliners locked in, so now Kanga's going to have to figure out what they want to do DPS-wise as well as the healer, but it looks like Bomb King is going to be the one making an appearance.
And this is a really big pick for Diggy. I assume to be Diggy. He's been the Bomb King who's been respected ever since he came in the scene. His very first event, people were knowing and fearing the name Diggy Dog when it was piloting the Bomb King. Now, Pip isn't something traditionally we see a ton of from Kanga. It's not something we've seen a lot of today overall, and I think that's got to change. I think that's got to be a really big power pick. We've already seen it in the PPL Spring Final, has been absolutely incredibly impactful, and then right out of the gate, we're going to get ourselves a Grover. We talked about it, and taking it all the way back to the first Paladins HRX tournament, this team was able to pull a pentakill with Grover. And not only was it the first time we'd ever seen that champion on the international stage, it was one of the first pentakills of that tournament.
And we've seen some performances of Grover so far in other regions throughout yesterday, but now it's time to actually see what Kanga can do with this pick. Let's go ahead and hop into game number 1 of our set.
Well, you know, I mean, this Grover play has, as maybe you might say, Vox, has looked invincible from Kanga before.
You know, I was going to lead with bless up, bow down.
You
but,
could.
Yeah, it looked pretty good for Kanga before. They brought it around. In the interviews, we did ask if we're going to be seeing any interesting Grover play coming through. I'm excited for it. The Grover does bring a lot to the table now. That healing through wall buff is really the main factor there in that regard. You can still provide a lot in Jaguar Falls because Grover doesn't actually have to be within the enemy line of sight to be able to heal people, which makes him relatively survivable.
It's awesome how we see champions kind of fall out, then come back because there's a certain aspect of a talent and a certain card that synergizes with that talent. And, oh boy, he got the Tyra sprays as well. I love it. Coming through from the Barrack. We've seen a lot of Barrack chosen as well today. We've seen it across the board on Envy. We've seen it from Navi. We've seen it from Fnatic yesterday. And now paired with Khan. We haven't seen these two together, I think, at all.
Yeah, the really interesting thing is we do have a look at the Grover loadout down at the bottom of your screen right now. Verdant Expanse, relatively normal. That Perennial 4 as well.
That's my loadout.
And Adrenaline,
he copied me.
You're getting some cooldowns or some cooldown reset off of these successful eliminations there. So right now actually getting very low. Newt's going to have to, or New Trio, we should say.
That's right.
To heal him up. The one thing that I'm not too sure about in terms of Kanga right now is the fact that they are running the Royal Subjects Bomb King. Chronix will be able to do a lot of area damage, but won't have a lot of kill potential versus some of Navi's tanks.
And first blood, they're going the way of Navi. Creators finds Os Rhino. Phoenix again. He piloted this con before, and he looked very confident on it, you could say. And 39% counting for Kanga Esports, despite taking the initial part of this fight. They have now ceded their ground, and Navi will be in control.
Chronix then looking for it. Trying to find a way back in. Unbelievable's doing a good job at zoning. I like the positioning. Good choice to just withdraw, though, not leave himself too vulnerable. You got to remember that Navi, they have that Genos healing. It's not a super high throughput heal. It's across a lot of time. So a lot of pokes suddenly being taken by Navi does leave them very susceptible to being burst out by Kanga, and there is an opportunity to go in now.
Big stuff there. Diggy Dog also finding creatives in that little splash arena. And now Phoenix and Spunky answer right back. Os Rhino's had a tough round, a tough go at it. Unbelievable, and Phoenix have been unbelievable in their control over this objective. And Navi will kind of coast through here. Not a lot of pressure given to them, Vox.
And a lot of that seems to come down to the fact that Navi have been impeccable with their positioning. Look at Umbi falling back again, but also their target focus right now. You saw Os Rhino on the Inara, one of the most survivable champions in the game, be lifted into the air by Genesis Void Grip and burnt immediately. So Navi are swapping targets very cleanly so far. They're making sure that also they try and force a bit of space between this Inara and the Grover right now. So they have to rely on the Pip's healing flask to be thrown out over distance to heal the Inara, and therefore she's a bit less survivable. And look at that Khan pull right there. Commander's Grab used to interrupt the shield from Fernando, and Phoenix survives.
But again, great stuff from Phoenix as well, and he didn't use that. I don't think he used the Battle Shout there, because he would have had it basically not on cooldown for the couple of seconds he was there. But It seems that he has survived. He has pulled out, and Creatives as well has slammed that bow into 2 members here. So Kanga Esports again on the back foot despite ulting.
It was 3 for Mutu, 2 for Creatives there. The Bow brother and sister coming out strong right now. Damage dealt charts are being led by both of those. No surprises here. An interesting position from Phoenix right now. Wants to make sure he gets right to the edge, and because he's not being burned right down, can position so Joel's can be thrown off, because of course that Fernando can potentially charge back onto the map. Diggy Dog in a good position right now up on the high ground. Does try and close the gap with Spunky. That's a really important kill, Evan.
Yeah, that wall jump was great too. Gave him the angle. Spunky could not basically look up 90 degrees and be able to contest him before the damage landed. Diggy Dog, he's piloted this pit very well, and you can see the pressure that he can apply. Kanga full resetting Navi here, and with 56 seconds left, got to be feeling good. A little bit of escape artist to the loadout as well, Vox.
You know,
I like that.
I kind of like this as well, and adding the Moxie in there as well. Those 2 cards combined just make sure this Pip is very survivable in a lot of 1v1 situations. Knocked off the top, I think by a disengage though, so the Dog has to wait for Weightless and actually has to burn that cooldown to be able to get back up top again. Overall, Kanga are in a very good position, as I say that. Kanga are in the best position to hold right now in this choke point where they can rely on this Grover heal, this Pip heal to come through, but Spunky finds a big kill. There's through time and space as well. Doesn't get one, but this has already broken the base.
They kill Pip, and then immediately Nudie goes over, and he's a second late to getting the heal off onto Joels, who ends up falling as a result of that. So this is just really unfortunate there. I mean, if this literally takes place half a second earlier, maybe they've got their front line, maybe they stabilize here. But right now, Navi are knocking at the door of Kanga Esports defense. They've got the Fernando onto the point. He's going to go into the Immortal. There's another Evil Mojo. Can they finish this one off? But unbelievable. He's going to pop out again, and he might just find a kill. Creatives and Phoenix as well responding and getting 2 for their trouble.
It's all about the King Bomb now to shut things down, but again, getting out immediately from that crowd control are the frontliners. Phoenix, last one left alive. Diggy Dog picks up a double kill, but Spunky's still on the objective. It's this Pip versus 2, and that is Mutu there as well. That's a Cassie that you don't want to face off against, but look at this. Respawn proximity advantage, Evan. Kanga come back so quickly.
And I mean, look at that overtime, right? Look how fast that goes. If he doesn't get, if he maybe dies a second earlier, this is a game of inches. If he dies a second earlier, maybe he doesn't have acumen at 30% in his loadout, he just goes down and they immediately push it in before Nuti and Joels can go and contest. But right here, you're seeing how Mutu is just so efficient with this Cassie play. Not definitely dominating these high-level games. We're seeing her giving up and not necessarily determining whether you win or lose, but definitely having the potential to, as Mutu is showcasing.
Also, a really good position there from Mutu as well to gets one pick, dodge rolls around, and almost sort of protects the Khan, who is polymorphed in the chicken form right then.
He applies pressure.
Exactly, and you can do that. It's peel by damage, which is a feature that we normally more see in MOBAs, I guess, in FPS games, but it's something which definitely comes through in Paladins right now. KDA is looking pretty good for Navi so far. Unbelievable 0-3 and 11 though. Rejuvenate's starting to come through for Navi, but notably on the team which is augmented by a Grover support here for Kanga, no Rejuvenate at all, apart from on Chronix. That's weird. Which to me screams the fact they're just at a credit deficit overall rather than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just prioritizing it. You may have wanted to even start with that on some of your front lines. We see that very often because you have that caught from Fernando. At this point,
we hope they're running Brand at least.
Not even Inara started with the Rejuvenate, I don't think.
That Cassie has just used Scout there, Evan. This is a kind of Navi trying to hit the go button.
They might just be able to do it. Creatives here on a 1 streak. Misses that shot with Diggy Dog. Those two have dueled out a couple times. Diggy Dog getting the better end on the defense and thus resulting in a 1-1 ball game. And this one shot, unbelievable. If he hits it, could have just taken down Chronix.
This is Tinker and Barrack with the looks of things, so could have hit that long-range shot, but a couple of misses here and there. Now, Phoenix does have their ultimate available for Khan. Could be used to turn and burn somebody. That Commander's Grab as well could be used to interrupt, but look at this. Hitting the gas pedal with Mutu. Applies the damage buff as well, but Kanga already and waiting for
that
them.
lockout on the Commander's Grab, so dangerous. He's trying to be offensive, but he gets taken down as well. Good follow-up there by Natus Vincier. They've got 4 alive, but Kanga, they have 4 as well. Make that 3, make that 2, make that 1, make that none. Creatives with a triple kill. He's having some fun today.
That's just kind of Shaolin things going on right there in combination with Cassie. You get one on one team and it's dangerous enough. You get one on both teams and cool. They're going to be dueling for most of the game. You get both on one team and that is a big problem because Navi set up a perfect pincer right there on that objective. They had Mutu sort of positioned behind more defensively, playing the Darkroom where there are more walls to impale enemies was Creatives. And you can't focus on one, you can't focus on the other. There's very good communication that you can see between all members of Navi because as soon as one was brought low and retreating, say for example the Bomb King, they were immediately turned on by Creatives, finished off, focused down, opening up so much of an opportunity for Navi to capitalize on the confusion that they're sowing throughout Kanga. And now where Kanga were able to hold here previously inside their base under the catwalk here, Navi have already broken through, and they're setting up almost a defensive line here.
Yeah, and Phoenix is really showing. You saw that headshot clip Diggy Dog, and Pip is kind of a walking head box, unfortunately. But you see the way he's playing with this. Never surrender, plate mail, hope guard. 3 cards you're going to see in pretty much every single con loadout that exists. Into the breach, definitely a stylistic choice. So he's going to get some movement speed, but firing line is going to give creatives that extra damage. That's going to force the peel. That's peel by offense, like you mentioned, Vox. And with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, Diggy Dog, he doesn't have enough health. He doesn't have enough healing. He's not an escape artist here when the Primus of House Aiko has come to play.
And if we just think about what's going on so far, as we see creatives just rip and tear through all of Kanga Esports here. I mean, absolutely beautiful positioning coming through. It's so difficult for Kanga to respond to this because their composition is based around playing a more kind of traditional game where it's like, all right, you stand at that end of the court, we stand at this end of the court. I'm doing sports references again. I should not do that.
Yeah, where are you going with this?
We just kind of hit the ball back and forth, right? But Navi are coming in going, well, no, what we're going to do is we're going to walk up in your face and then also pin sweep flank you so we got somebody behind you, which is a big issue. But now looking at creatives right now for Navi, who is
Poise
11,
5?
4, and 10. Exactly. Poise 5 in their loadout. Mirage 4, so really augmenting their loadout to try and get some extra cooldown reduction. But typically we see a lot more Charlins running the Bullseye card in here for cooldown reduction on elimination. This crowd control reduction, super valuable against a team with a Pip for Polymorph, a Grover and a Nara with Seismic Crash, and a Bomb King. It's so good right now to be able to make sure that you pop out of that crowd control as quickly as possible and maybe get a turnaround. Here comes the Seismic Crash, though Umbi's still alive.
And Phoenix and Mutu here, I mean, they're so good at waiting, right? One of them waiting, and Kanga Esports just grouped up together. You do not see this lasting long. Double kill for creatives yet again. Not as Sincere have come to play. Jaguar Falls is looking like their map here in this set. Best of 3 looking to be another 4-1 unless Kanga can change this.
And Kanga need to find a way to change this. And for me, the caveat really comes down to the fact that they're not using their ultimates together very much. King Bomb was just used. Here comes a Polymorph through time and space to respond, though, and Spunky finds Diggy Dog.
Okay, and this is a nice adjustment, but can they even get on the point? I don't think so. Not as Vincier take game 1. Umbi throws the headset off. Give me some room. I got a hat on my head and some headsets. That's like a lot of head weight. Like, don't judge me.
Spunky as well, holding his head up high despite all that. But looking at it, the only real opportunity for Navi to really come in and do something there was off the back of a combo ult, right? You've got this King Bomb, you've got the fact that you've got your Polymorph as well, you've got your Immortal, and we saw Bomb King focus down so heavily during that King Bomb channel that they died before they ended up really connecting with anybody. Why not use them in tandem? Why not use them in combo? Coordinate and control, but they were broken apart and splintered.
And unfortunately, we'll see if that Grover can put those splinters back together to make something wholesome, and if Kanga Esports can change their draft up.
A Grover with splinters put back together probably would look more like...
You just got to get past the tree puns when it's Grover, when it's Vox, all right?
Fair
You'll
enough.
get used to it.
But Kanga looking like they need to put some things back together after game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough start. I think they did well. I think they fought a couple of valiant fights there. Really, the beginning of the end of that final round for me was, a couple times getting pincered out and losing track of creatives more often than not. I think he played very responsibly, very patiently, very wisely on the Shaolin. He makes a rare loadout choice, but there is so much CC on Kanga's lineup with the Pip Evil Mojo, with the Seismic Crash from Nara, the King Bombs, the Grumpy Bombs. It allows him to just be free and also not be a good target to focus out. And on top of that, I think it's such a rare loadout card for Shaolin. If Kanga weren't paying attention, they wouldn't have noticed it. They would have full committed onto the Shaolin, who's going to pop out 70% sooner from a crowd control and be shooting right back at their faces.
And there were moments during that game where you saw him waiting. He wasn't afraid to take his moment before actually hopping into the fight on that Shaolin to have the impact and be able to just get a kill here, a kill there, another one. I'm just going to keep going off with my little jingle bells on my bow here.
See how nobody's looking at him, though. That's what I'm talking about. I saw that a good couple of times. Creatives, they just lost track of him. That plays into just this guy being smart. Look at another great angle here. Pops out 70% sooner. See, but look, Kanga came out like, oh my god, let's full commit on the Shaolin that just got stunned away. He's not stunned anymore. And just like that, the fight turns around. He's shooting a lot of people in the back of the heads. He's waiting in his withdrawals when he needs to be as well for people to forget about him again, to turn their backs, and then he opens up. I thought it was a beautifully played first game by creatives.
And there were some studied moments on the opposite end. I think Diggy Dog on the Pip, he's played this frequently, and when they did get that defensive point, it was highly due to the Evil Mojo.
It's a good draft for Kanga, but not one that I think I'm pounding my chest. I'm excited about for Kanga. Bomb King is a Diggy Dog champion. I think that's, if they're going to go back to it, and they might here, but I think Drogos might be a good way to look as well. Not a sincere run a decent amount of double front line on this Bright Marsh map. I think this, if any time there is to go Drogos, I think Diggy Dog, I was watching him scrim with it a little bit earlier. It was looking pretty dialed in. It was looking pretty scary. I'd be on the lookout for the greedy if I'm Navi.
It is one of those tough situations where Bomb King is a clear pick for Diggy Dog, but then Pip as well. He's played plenty, so you have to choose when you want that composition who
that's
he's
what I'm
going to
saying.
go
Like
on.
his Pip is fine, but it's like he's playing it because no one else is,
Right.
and so that's why he's not playing the Bomb King, because no one else is playing Pip. I don't think super confidently. Terminus, he gone. Makoa, he gone.
Again.
Another couple of bans here for Kanga and the gang. Ruckus still a notable one on the board here. A lot of front lines banned out in the first game. It might be the same way as well. I wonder if we see Kanga go to the hard 3 DPS call here. I think they have a great core to do it. Chronix, Joels, and Diggy, all amazing DPS players, blasters, and hit scans. A lot of flexibility between the three of them.
I'd like to see something like that, especially when you're in a best of 3. So it really comes down to this game. You don't have the opportunity to go too crazy, but at the same time, it's double elimination. Go big or go home.
That's a good point. It's best of 3. Navi, they're feeling really good. When Navi get like dialed in, when they're not down on themselves, they're a team that's not super momentum based. I don't think they communicate a ton. They don't get super hyped. So getting that first win under the belt and just being coasting through now, they're feeling good. They're communicating. They're pretty flawless through that first game. It's a tough one to bounce back from in just that best of 3. And again, a lot of new players here for Kanga. I don't know them all as well as I used to, right? I don't know how they're going to bounce back from this loss, but they've changed a couple things up in the draft, and they get the Ruckus first, which is a big pick for Joels.
You see with the book in hand right there for Phoenix, trying to walk them through this draft. And it is a good point that Navi, they aren't that momentum team like you've seen G2 be in the past or such. It is this kind of more getting your train on the tracks, and once they're on the tracks, then it's just steady sailing from there on out. And locking in the Inara, and once again, the Shaolin, they worked before, it'll work again.
It's been huge for them. Shaolin is a great pick. Kind of across the board, the top teams, sometimes he'll go a little bit later in the draft. There's the Drogos as well. And you have to be a little bit worried about that Navi and Droxus. I think there's potential for it to come through. Maldamba and Geno still on the board. And now with Inara, Navi will probably want to go for Maldamba. It depends, right? What do they want their win condition to be? It's you have this unkillable Inara with Maldamba, or you can go Genos here, open up the field a little bit more, potentially bring out Mutu's and Droxus, which is going to be amazing for keeping a lid on Diggy Dog's Drogos.
That's one of the keys. Make sure you pick somebody up that can deal with this Drogos. And luckily, since they played during the PPL finals yesterday, they played against Drogos. They played during the Las Vegas LAN, so I think they know the importance of keeping a cap on it. And there's Maldamba and the Barrack.
The Barrack.
Your
Barrack. No
favorite.
con this time around for Navi. They'll go to the Barrack. It's whatever. I think these guys are so good at the Barrack, and it has those moments of greatness. I think Envy in particular, their Barracks have been incredibly impressive to me. I'll be curious to see what style. Tinkerin is what Envy ran earlier, and I think that's probably what we'll see run back here by Navi, but they've still got to get Mutu on something, and they have a lot to work with here. Obviously, he's their hit scan player, so it could be the Leon, could be an Androxus. The world is his oyster.
Looks like Genos is getting locked in. And yeah, when Barrack was there for Unbelievable during game number 1, it looked like Tinkerin and used it as just a pressure mechanism from some of those side avenues to the actual capture. And there's Bomb King as the last pick.
So it'll probably be Creatives on the Bomb King and Mutu on the Shaolin, which is not a very typical lineup for Navi. And if anything, I think that's something Kanga can use to their advantage now. I think they have some seriously comfortable picks over on their side. I think Joel on the Ruckus, what I assume to be Diggy Dog on the Drogos. I mean, Chronix just played the Bomb King, which was a very, very characteristic pick for Diggy Dog back in the day. I think this is looking good for Kanga, to be quite honest, if they execute.
A bit of a different approach from game number 1 to game number 2, so let's go ahead and continue with the set.
You know, it's been a while, Vox, since we've actually seen Ruckus be available and be played. He has been consistently banned in every single game from both Fnatic and Navi when they went the distance in the Paladins Spring Finals yesterday, and most of the games today. So it's going to be interesting to see Kanga now able to pilot that.
Yeah, Ruckus has been picked, I think, a couple of times as a bit of a wildcard thing here. The thing that Ruckus brings to a point fight specifically is a lot of damage, right? And it's not just damage from up close, it's damage over distance. And what we often find out happening on especially compact maps like Bright Marsh is that you kind of play this sort of brawly composition where your frontliners get up and make space, and they do damage up close, but then as soon as you get into a payload push, they start to fall off because you're not able to control from range quite so well. But Ruckus can do that.
You know when you're making bread. I don't know if you've ever made bread before.
I have made bread.
So you have to make the dough, and you have to knead the dough, and you have to get all the holes out of it, and you got to do all that. I feel like that's what Ruckus is. He's just making it soft, ready to go, ready to hit into the oven, so that Diggy Dog can finish it off, so that Chronix can finish it off. Those rockets really open up a target, getting rid of up to 1,500 health in a matter of seconds with his hit scan pressure from the miniguns. It's going to be up to Joel's, I think, to make this pick as valuable as it can be if they're going to win this game.
So initially, Joel's taking some high ground positioning. This is really good use of wall jumping from Joel, specifically to be able to get up here whilst mounted.
Really good.
Enables you to take something like Rocket Barrage as well if you'd like to as well. And it looks like that has been the talent that's been taken as indicated by the charges on these missiles. Joel's will take down to the low ground though. Unbelievable on the objective. It's being bombarded pretty heavily, but it's early game Inara and Maldamba. It's very hard to kill. Really, you're looking to kill that with a Dragon Punch rather than anything else right now.
Absolutely, and I think what's so great is that opened Diggy Dog up to get some damage on the table. It opened Unbelievable to get focused. Creative's been doing such a good job of holding this right side, and Mutu's been doing a fantastic job of holding the other side. But right now, no shield, only a fireball, no charge to his name. Also, Rhino's in trouble, and Creatives knows it. He's sneaking in, and he's blowing things up.
Oh, this is also Chain Reaction Bomb King from Creatives. Mutu on the Sha lane as well, able to get in and just decimate everybody. But that Chain Reaction Bomb King, playing that into specifically a Ruckus, who as soon as their emitter goes down is just a magnet for these sticky bombs, as well as Fernando, whose shield will be broken relatively quickly by the consistent racket damage coming out of Bomb King. It's a dangerous situation for Kanga to play into. They need to make sure that their Xin is getting some good focus off.
And right now, this Drogos is really, I think, a win condition for them, but Creatives has been much more of that on the Bomb King thus far. Unbelievable has been having so much space to work off of, and Diggy's really having to get out of combat very often because he's just getting poked from many different sources.
And it's only a Janos heal that's coming through, whereas if Creatives gets poked and ends up getting topped up by a Maldamba, that's pretty significant. Oh, new team stunned out behind the scenes. Mutu finds one, gets the double.
Going for the triple here. I mean, this is just light work for this man. He is absolutely from another planet because that jump up stun with a little bit of inaccuracy bloom still hits it, still finishes every third shot after that as well. This is just phenomenal play from the Shaolin. You said yourself, if they get a Nara Shaolin, not as sincere, they win.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you've got good frontline pressure, arguably the best frontline for this specific map, and also you have a lot of damage coming through from Mutu's shot. Joel's, though, with the Hexafire, tries to buy some space. Beautiful impasse. Umbi stays alive.
I like it here. Phoenix trying to find some damage with the blunderbuss, turning into Tinkerin, and man, this thing is going to work. The mechanic absolutely making his team into a machine with the flawless execution that Fnatic, were able to show against Nadas Vincere yesterday. It seems like Navi have kind of now taken that upon themselves to raise their level even higher.
And you know what? Actually, watching that Barrack just kind of sit on the objective, getting a lot of healing throughput. When we come back into the actual spectator mode, let's take a look at the loadout the Barrack has got us. That's a relatively high investment into healing station from them, and I'm excited to see exactly what that comes up with. So, Palisade 5 in there, cooldown reduction of Barricade by 5 seconds, healing station 4, Bowling Ball 3, and also look at this red streak as well as double time. So fast relocation, proccing that bowling ball more frequently. This is a Barrack which is really sort of, I'm going to hunker down, bunker down on the objective, and allow also the support that Spunky is playing right now of Maldamba to focus on other players because Phoenix is so survivable.
And he's just, he chunks, you know, burst and chunks. These are things that you can't really plan for or react well against with a Genos. And here it is, Dragon Punch coming through. He's going to find Umbi there through time and space as well. Dome Shield forced out by Phoenix. And Nadas Vincere are kind of still applying pressure despite getting poked lower and lower and having to retreat.
Oh, Joel's positioning throughout the rest of that fight, though, has been so good right there up top, able to get one kill. Chronix comes in, whirls through to Spunky, gets a double kill. And that'll be Kanga with a bit of a wipe so far. Comet mechanic in hand. If they can stall this Inara, that should be capped for them relatively easily, Evan.
That's what they needed here. You know, Chronix has not come to play quite yet today. We haven't seen much of him. Diggy Dog had a quieter game one. But right here, Kanga Esports definitely getting back into the driver's seat. They're going to grab this objective and start to push with 2 minutes left on the objective. No ultimates to their name.
You know, I hate to say it, but I do feel like part of the reason that Navi lost that point so handily right then was the fact that Phoenix threw down Dome Shield when there wasn't really too much threat coming in.
At that point, do you think it was lost already, though, or do you think that was just a panic.
You know, I think that actually there would have been the opportunity. It wouldn't have been lost. If you throw down the Dome Shield a little bit later, you buy time for your Inara to get back in. You buy time for the Stagger to regroup at that point. There could have been an opportunity to come through. Chronix searches for Mutu. Oh, there we go. Goes down to Nuti in the backline as well. So Navi's starting to lose some players here. This could be good for Kanga on push.
Also have to say, Nudie in the through time and space did a great job of applying pressure. He might have hit somebody. I wasn't paying attention to his particular impact on that ultimate, but it really forced Phoenix into a bad spot.
Right, it forced Phoenix to use their rocket boot specifically, and I think that might actually be why the Dome Shield was prompted right there, but hold that thought.
Hello.
Chronix comes in. Diggy Dog, basically that's a hold him in place spite rather than anything else, and the Fusillade rockets connect.
Oh, the only problem is you let creatives get away. You don't want him to get healed up, but they find two while he's gone. Os Rhino picking up that double. The new tank taken over for what Hades was usually doing. He's in the coach's booth now, and he's proud of how his players have showed up after a tough game one and a tough round one here in game two. They're about to tie this thing up.
Exifire comes through as well. Joel's in a lot of trouble, but gets focused down by Mutu. Too low on health. No emitter cooldown there as well. Phoenix with a double. That is enough to kind of stall things out. Joel's hitting a lot of headshots in this rockets, though. Gets really good position when you notice him going for a point fight. A slight amount of elevation makes it much easier to comparatively hit headshots on a champions than being positioned below them, for example. You're aiming down towards the head, where that occupies a bigger space overall, and you can see that reflected in the damage charts. And I'm really glad to see Joel's back on a hit scan champion, a tracking-based champion like Ruckus.
Yeah.
You know, when we first saw Joel's come onto the scene, it was with Victor, where he performed incredibly.
Knessa, Victor, we call him the babyface killer. I mean, he's not really a tank player, but Nudie, he definitely is a support player, finding creatives there with the through time and space. Spunky here trying to hold it down to give some peel for his team. Desperately needed. Phoenix and Unbelievable are getting their protection here under the Dome Shield. Will the Gourd be enough to stop this onslaught?
The problem is that Spunky dives straight out of that. Here comes Dragon Punch as well, connects onto Phoenix.
Hits
Mutu
the rocket.
Wipes out Diggy Dog though, but will this be enough? Overtime is about to get going. Chronix finds one, trying to stay alive around Unbelievable. Here comes the Billow, the heal, the Astral Mark from Genos as well.
He's got another world. He's got another world. The Warder's Field is still there, and he's got another heal coming through, but it's just not enough. Nudie did such a good job to showcase his prowess there. And Kanga, you can see how desperately they don't want to go down 3-1. This means that they are one objective fight away from being knocked into the loser's bracket. And unfortunately, it will be unavoidable, although Nudie did a great job to try and set up this push.
I love this angle right here specifically. Knows that that is actually the exact exit point from perspectively the left side right there, when you come up through in towards your base. If you're retreating, that's kind of the funnel where you'll be forced to. But now let's look at items whilst they're on screen for us. It's 1-0 for Kanga Esports right now, 3-1 in the game score. Navi have really started to flex out their itemization in full. Mutu, for example, has a full wrecker. Notably, Unbelievable as well, who's brawling out with this barrack quite frequently and is trying to get up in the face of Os Rhino, has a wrecker 2 on them as well. Phoenix, with more reliable confirmed damage, has Cauterize online. Joel's is the only player on Kanga Esports, though, with a Cauterize 3, and now Navi is starting to go into some Rejuvenate as well, so Kanga Esports are falling behind in terms of burst heal. Navi, they're really pulling ahead.
And here, you got to just force the shield cooldown. There it is. He's going to go on cooldown. He's got 5 seconds off of it thanks to Palisade, so it's going to be back up in 10 seconds. Now is your window to force the boots and now force something onto the barrack. Is he getting targeted? Not quite yet. The spike comes out from Zen. Despite that, can't find a kill.
No, I think Chronix did actually find Unbelievable there, but Creatives is already in the backline, finds 3 in a row, looking for a 4th. And that's actually a double for Spunky, 3 for Creatives. Navi wiped the floor with Kanga Esports, and they still have King Bomb in the tank. They almost have as well their Seismic Crash coming through to be able to lock this down. It's a dangerous situation for Kanga.
Diggy Dog, you can see his health bar right there. He's almost half health as well. And he's running Rejuvenate, which is a very smart thing when you have a Genos. You don't have that much healing on demand, but you do have the damage amp, and you do have that overtime healing, which can be boosted by that. Also
certainly.
Shuts down the Cauterize. But I think another thing is that he's really feeling himself out of these fights a lot. Creatives is on point. Mutu is on point. Whenever he peeks his head, he's like, man, I'm half health. I don't know if I can stay in this fight, guys.
And so when we look at this, we've got to ask ourselves, how does Kanga Esports come back into this? How do they break the base versus Navi? They should roughly know that some ultimates are available, like King Bomb, which wasn't used in the previous round.
Right.
They should also recognize that if ultimates were used midway through the defense, that they're starting to come off cooldown now. They're being charged up. The energy is ready. So stuff like Seismic Crash is available. So Kanga need to find a way to capitalize, I think you got it right, on this Drogoz. It brings so much damage, they need to find a way to lock down their opposition. Maybe you pick somebody like Creatives early, you get the Bomb King off the table. You've got to get onto the point, of course. You've got to be able to contest, so the Inara comes later, but here's my thought.
Yeah.
Dragon Punch is great for taking down Inara. make sure you use the squishier targets first to charge up your ultimate with that bonus damage. You eliminate them off the table, you get your ultimate online. It's a step-by-step procedure that Navi might not have an answer for if the ult comes are good.
I don't know if Kanga have enough time for that. There's 57% on the objective. They're zoning out. At this point, I'm just not even sure they're going to be able to touch. If they can touch, if they can zone, an ultimate is going to be needed to create this space. And that's what you want on this zone when they have all these channels blocked off. When you have burst damage coming from creatives like the Shaolin, you have to set something up like a tone of an ultimate, a seismic crash if you had that opportunity, right? To be able to just say, give us space to move around. 75% now for Navi. Joel's is making his way on the mount, but I'm not sure if it's enough, man. 90%. Now they're going to be there, and there it is. The Hexafire in response. Here's the Dragon Punch. He's going to go for Unbelievable. The wall has been used. Can he get another kill? They find Spunky. It's a full wipe. Kanga Esports somehow keep this alive, and they're not going down without a fight.
Wow, and the comeback mechanic enabling them to capture so quickly. Beautiful Dragon Punch, but it's not the Dragon Punch, which is the most impressive part of Diggy Dog's play right there. It was the speed at which he subsequently reacted to be able to use the thrust up into the air.
Shot Spunky.
And the flick, yeah, exactly. The fusillade direct impact onto Spunky changed the course of that fight entirely. That's Dragon Punching straight into a Dread Serpent. That is a ballsy play right now. Woo! Diggy Dog, more commonly known for their blasts, is definitely demonstrating why they have a reputation for them within the OCE region that extends through into the rest of international play.
And I mean, right there, you're like, when we get wiped, is that it, guys? We go to loser's bracket, and now you get it back. You have a chance to play. The amount of relief, the amount of maybe belief that is happening on the side of Kanga Esports is tantamount to anything you would expect from a finals win, tying it back up for maybe a Game 7, because this does mean hope. Great shot from Diggy Dog. He is proving that he is dominant on the blasters, leading the damage charts by about 13,000 right now.
Able to get 2 kills in a row there, picking off Mutu as well. That really opens the opportunity for this push to keep on going, because Dragon Punch is now charged and ready. Creatives has had enough of it, though. Creative says, you know what, even if I end up dying here, I'm just going to remove the Drogos from the table, but
Chronics.
Still, Creative is able to stay alive. I mean, that's testament to Spunky being able to get those heals coming through as well. That's really good play.
It is, and Umbi was great there with a lot of damage. Unbelievable. When you watch him, you will notice his Inara, his Stone Spear, finds a lot of conversions. It's damage you don't really notice, but he keeps adding it, and that pressure really helps Creatives to turn the tide. Creatives also running Blast Shields too there, so he's taking 14% less damage from Diggy Dog. If he doesn't have that, he is dead to those Fusillade rockets.
It's pretty critical in terms of the loadouts, in terms of the itemization. A little bit of min-max coming to a head right now, but again,
see how many shots he's hitting?
Trying to find a way to break the base. Here comes Dragon Punch, connects onto Unbelievable, Immortal as well. Us Rhino out front.
And that's a great play because he keeps Diggy Dog alive, and Diggy Dog gets another. Chronix gets another as well. A triple kill from the Dragon. Diggy Dog is going off, keeping it alive for Kanga Esports, and now Nodus Finseer are the ones feeling the heat. I don't know if they're going to be able to withstand it.
We got to call that the fadeaway fire spit right there. Just shoots, and again, it's the reactions that Diggy Dog has to get out of danger which are so impressive. Able to shoot and not look back, has confidence in the fact that these rockets will hit, and the Fusillade connects. 18 seconds.
Oh, he got it!
And he got it. He's still, I can't believe it. The fire spit comes through as well.
Oh, he got it!
A double kill with Phoenix.
What is this man doing? He is just single-handedly doing no-look 180 rockets and changing these fights. Unbelievable, still alive, and it may not be enough for Kanga, but they've got 5 men up. Can they get here and contest? Nodus Finseer just getting their 5th Phoenix back alive and on the battlefield.
The big thing for Kanga Esports right here now, Evan, is can they force an ultimate out of Navi if they look like they're going to convert? And can they charge their own? Diggy Dog has Dragon Punch back again, but Phoenix is swinging. Creatives is here just in the back line. Phoenix picks up a triple kill, and it's all over for this point push. Navi defends successfully. They didn't use any of their ultimates, but...
And I mean,
Kanga were able to charge him, and that's really important.
I mean, now you're starting to feel good. This is what I talked about with Akate. You get a little dismayed when you got your guy who does this all the time, doesn't do this. And that's what Diggy Dog brings to this team. He's making these plays. Kanga Esports have the opportunity. Osrhino hasn't been here. Nudie hasn't been here. It's just him, Joels, and Chronix who have to hold it down. Now they're like, okay, finally, we're seeing the Diggy Dog we know stepping up to the plate for us.
So we're getting into 2-3. There is half comeback mechanic available for Kanga Esports. They have a slight capture boost. Let's take a look at the net worth chart if we can, please, and the itemization as well to see exactly where these two teams are in terms of the equivalence between them. Now, a lot of Rejuvenate coming out for either team right now. Kanga Esports, though, they're pulling ahead in terms of that. They're getting their green cards online. That might make the difference, Evan, as that Genos is still able to get a lot of healing off. Now the ultimates are charged.
And let's see if they can force the wall. That's the big key. How fast? And there it is. So now he's still getting damage. Not a good wall from Unbelievable. I'm not going to lie. He should have done that a little farther in to block off Diggy being able to fire it all into the point. Dragon Punch should be susceptible here. He's waiting for the opportunity, and it's time for the Dragon to take to the skies. Dread Serpent trying to create some space. What can he find? He dives in desperately trying to get a support, but he can't. It's Creatives who finds the answer, the double kill, and not as Vincere out to zone.
Unintentional invisible body block from Muti right there, actually. It was the Charlene, I think, that got killed by the Dragon Punch, standing right in front of Unbelievable. Here comes the wall as well. There's the full lock-off down one side, corralling every member of Kanga Esports down through the right peripheral side. Dismounts come through, 84%. Evan, somebody's got a touch, but can anybody get there?
I think it's going to be close. 99. Oh, he got there. It was Chronix. They didn't see him. Unbelievable takes too much damage. And now they've got the comeback mechanic, but a great finish off by Spunky, who finds Joel's with a gourd onto the objective, but Chronix is still firing away.
I can't believe that this is still going right now. I thought it would all be over, but no.
How?
Still, somehow Osrhino is here. 51% right now for Kanga Esports. Navi's 99. Navi are all out of ultimates. They've got no way to break the base. Spite is almost available. If that's used to lock down an Inara, for example, that could be an easy kill with these Fusillade rockets, and Umbi is already being forced back.
He used the wall already. He doesn't have that for 15 seconds. You're going to have to stand on this point, or you're going to have to back off. This is a dangerous proposition, but I think they feel confident. You can see their basically health pools melting on the side of Kanga Esports. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. Diggy Dog has got to play phenomenally, and he does play phenomenally, finding Spunky, but it's not enough. This time the wall's correct, and this time not as Vincere take game 2 and advance on in this bracket.
And really, that's why you value Inara so much on Brightmarsh. You just deny an entry. You heard Dragon Punch channel there at the end, trying to loop-de-doop around and get back onto the objective, but a slight overextension from Osrhino. Should have maybe backed off a little bit sooner, repositioned, allowed the rest of Navi to come in and just continue putting relentless pressure into Kanga's backline. Overall, a great performance from both teams. Really impressive play from Diggy Dog specifically on that Drogos. And as we mentioned, folks, this is a double elimination format for the Paladins Masters tournament in spring 2018. Kanga Esports will be back. We'll see if they can face off against Navi again later in the bracket.
It'll be interesting because no team is out, and that's kind of the scary part about this. You know, you play well, you have tight games, and then it's just about, okay, who can analyze what went wrong the best? Who can maybe make these adjustments faster?
Well, you know, actually during Kanga's interview, we asked him about this, saying you're a region that's disconnected by sheer location from a lot of them specifically, and how do you adapt to that and say, well, we get here, we boot camp early, and then we just try and scrim as many people to adapt as fast as possible.
Well, maybe that's too much information, or maybe it's just enough. Kanga's Esports run in the Paladins Masters will continue, but in the losers bracket, so let's send it back to the desk.
Well, the desk is nothing but emotion right now for half of it. Let's see the manifesting in physical pain for Pretty Hair over there.
The boys, they fought well.
Yeah, especially Diggy Dog, if you take a look at his Drogos play. You proud?
They fought really well. Somebody in chat just said, Kanga out here looking like Cavaliers, and that resonates with me pretty heavily there. LeBron Dog out there with the Drogos.
They really
pulling
speak
a
to you,
lot of
this
weight.
team.
In more ways than one. It's not over for the gang, though. It's not over for
No.
the boys. Very proud of Navis here as well. Incredible stuff from them. Creatives just look like an absolute monster. Mutu Shaolin, we haven't seen it in a minute, but I mean, crazy stuff from him. He hasn't missed a beat on it. Looks like it's just hopping right back on the bicycle. Puts the crosshair on the head, and he lets loose the arrow. Unfortunate, though. Kanga not out of the running yet. Nobody will be today.
And that's the thing. Despite the play from Diggy Dog on Drogos, you just had Mutu and Creatives doing Mutu and Creatives things when they're at their peak. And there were moments where Creatives on the Bomb King, it looked like he wasn't going to get the shot. And somehow, everything always landed and then worked in his favor.
You know, running chain reaction is not something easy to do. I think Fishy does it sometimes, but every single bomb landing on Diggy Dog mid-air, it's just so difficult to play against. I mean, incredible stuff there. A little bit overzealous at times, though, Kanga. I think better use. They missed one spite. There was one Hexafire towards the end where Kanga almost converted, but Joel's, I think he got a little trigger happy with that one. He was kind of low HP. He didn't have his emitter cooldown up, so he kind of got burned through a couple of times. That happened. I think more value from spite, more value from Hexafire. I think Kanga would have maybe just edged out that map.
Yeah, and that was just a crazy moment there in the end where it looked like, oh, maybe Kanga's got this. They actually used a couple ultimates right then, but then you had Spunky that was right outside the door to at least keep a little bit of a cap on the situation until the rest of the team was there to join.
Here's why I've still got hope for Kanga. You know, it's the world champs. It's Navi, all right? Let's just get that through everyone's head right now. It's triple kills for this man on Barrack. Incredible stuff from Navi. They're looking pretty true to form today, and that's scary for every other team at this tournament. And I think that all started almost yesterday, right? They had a great set. Despite the loss against Fnatic, they had a great set, and I think one that they can be very proud about. I think one that they were very proud about. I don't think they got it from their chairs yesterday and were hanging their heads very low. They were ready to play today. That showed they are the World Championships. They are defending their title, their honor here, as well as the fact that Kanga have made a lot of roster changes, right? They're probably still getting their feet wet. I think, this double elimination, they can get their feet under them, and they can still make a good run at this event.
Well, that's why you have the two opposite sides. Those from the PPL that did compete yesterday, and they can take those wins or losses however they want to and try and transform that energy into today's rounds. And then you have the opposite with all the international teams that only get to come here so often. We saw them back in January, where you're forced to kick it into high gear immediately, but luckily there's the double elimination format.
Yeah, and they said it themselves, right? It's a little bit of catch-up for these international teams. They have to get here early. They have to do some boot camping, some scrimming. And yes, I think they bring some unique identifiers. I think Leon in Latin America, the snipers in Latin America are incredible and world-class, right? But there is just being ready, I think, for the North Americans. I think there is that element of being ready for the Europeans and those teams that traditionally have proven themselves at the top of the scene. But you do have those three international strengths now. You've got Burrito, you've got Kanga, you've got SSG that I think are all really, really high contenders for this event.
Which means that with a couple of these already determined who's in the lower bracket, it should make for very interesting matches in itself. But we do have members of Navi standing on by with an interview to break down their experience in that match.
Okay, well, we're starting this interview, and I have to put Spunky on the spot because he just told me beforehand you're going to be awkward. Go ahead, just talk, Spunky. Tell me how you're feeling.
Good game. Hot to sleep.
So what more about the performance that you had specifically you thought was impactful in winning that set?
It was hard. Good game.
And just tell me, how do you feel about Phoenix's performance?
He was good.
Really masterclass interviews there. I mean, I think we're done, right? That's it. You don't have anything else.
I've got nothing.
That's it for us here, guys. No, I'm kidding. Alan has a couple questions.
Yeah, so Phoenix, I was looking forward to thoughts back to last fall with the Terminus coming out. You guys came through the bottom half of the bracket, which was the qualifying bracket, and the Terminus was incredible. Now the storyline seems to be the Barrack. Kind of tell me how you've enjoyed playing Daddy Barrack in the last couple of weeks.
What can I say, man? Everyone's is always about the OP tanks. I just like playing tanks that aren't played as much. They were way more fun to play because people don't expect what they do. That's why I bring out the Khan. That's why I bring out the Barrack. People are not used to playing against it, and it gives me a little advantage, I think.
And why was there a shift today from the Khan yesterday into the Barrack? And notably, Fnatic pulling out that solo tank Barrack against you guys to go through. Did that just spark some ideas around Barrack in your conversations?
It's basically draft dependent because the first game I played the Khan, and then on the second map we had a different Khan position that we wanted to play differently, and Khan didn't fit there, and Barrack was the better fit because we are able to hold the position better with Barrack compared to the Khan. And Barrack is a really good fit for that. If you want to hold a position, then just put 2 turrets in there and you stand there.
So let's get into deep into that because I'm interested. So you guys decided you wanted to play Bright Marsh a certain way. Talk about more of what you expected to do in that game. Were you just trying to hold the back line and make sure they could not get to Spunky?
Compositions are basically based on the first few picks, like the bans. When certain champions are banned out and certain champions are picked early, you have to play a certain way. Especially when you draft an Immortal, like an NR, you're gonna have to play around the point because that's where she's strongest. Meaning that they can flank around because they know they're there. So that's when you decide that you want to hold something. Don't let them get on your support for free. When your support dies, your Immortal dies. That's just how it works. So Barrack is the perfect fit here because you can just hold a side and make sure that the support is safe on that side. And that's just how we played it.
So a question I want to get opinions from both of you guys. As you look forward to, of course, the more experienced, more adaptable teams, do you find yourselves as a team adjusting more of your draft or more of just your general play style in game?
I say both. It's really, first of all, the composition changes on draft, like I said, and then we adjust our playstyle to the composition that we have. And I think right now we're in a spot that we always been actually. We've been really flexible with I think it was said before, we can play the Fnatic draft, the solo tank, we can play the triple tank, we can play the double tank, and that's just something we aim for with our practice. That we are certain that we can play every single playstyle.
Heading into this, you guys have a lot more to climb through. You're still in the winner's bracket, but unfortunately, the idea of coming up against Fnatic again, not having beat them in a while since January, has to kind of be in the back of your heads. Just looking forward to winning this thing. If that's your goal, what do you think you need to do?
We just need to play our game. We had some small mistakes yesterday, which caused us lose. But overall, we're there. We can do it. We just need to focus a bit more.
just not falter under the pressure sometimes, because especially in the best of 7, like that big of a set, and it comes down to the 7 map 3-3, like little mistakes, like you just look back to your set, little mistakes, just what makes a difference. And I think if we fix those little mistakes, make less or make none, then we're there.
All right. Well, it's exciting to see you guys doing so well. We look forward to seeing you more in the tournament. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.